Hey everyone, welcome back to K-Korner, the channel where we dive into the wild world of entitled people and their unbelievable stories. Hope you enjoy it. And without further ado, let's go. People stealing plane seats and getting told off for it are some of my favorite stories on Reddit. With the increase in plane seat bandits, most likely due to airlines almost making it a requirement to pay for seats if you want to sit next to your travel partner, I have been half expecting to run into one, since my husband and I travel a lot for work. Well, it finally happened, and it was quite an experience. My husband and I always buy plane seats towards the back of the plane. As we strolled down the aisle, we saw a lady with a young son, maybe 11 or 12 years old, sitting in our seats. They were both deeply engrossed in their phones when I told her she was in our seats. We had to wake up at 3 a.m. to drive to the airport, and we didn't really sleep, so I was not in the mood for nonsense. She smiled and told us that they weren't seated together, so the stewardess told her they could sit here. She most definitely didn't. I smiled back and said we paid for these seats, so we would like to sit there. She kept smiling her stiff smile and pointed to other empty seats behind us, asking if we wouldn't mind sitting in one of them, since they were already settled and comfortable. She asked if it would even matter. Well, I said yes, since the plane is still boarding, these might all be reserved, and it really messes with the system if people sit in random seats. She started to lose her smile, and said if there weren't seats available after the plane finished boarding, they would move then. I am not confrontational and am usually a people pleaser, so I struggled to stand up for myself, but I'm so proud I did it anyway. Meanwhile, my husband was struggling between boarding passengers to get the flight attendant. I sighed and with a half-smile said, "I'm sorry, but I just want to sit down and not stand in the hallway blocking people to see if maybe there are empty seats when I paid for our seats. And besides, I would like the authorities to be able to identify our bodies by seat number in case the plane crashes and our families want to bury our remains." The kid's face, which had been glued to his phone this entire time, shot up in shock, and he looked between me and his mom. It was delightful. She had a bewildered look on her face, and there was silence for 5 seconds before she packed up her stuff and poked her son to move. I kept smiling sweetly and thanked her, then plopped myself down as my husband returned with a flight attendant. I told her everything was fine and explained to my husband what happened. We laughed, and I'm pretty sure the mom heard, or at least I hope so. I didn't look back, but I think I felt her glaring at the back of my head. Luckily, the flight was only 3 hours, so I didn't need to walk past her to use the restroom. I am an administrator for an institution that works in the public sector. The hierarchy of this structure is slightly complicated because of the nature of the job, criminal justice. I oversee around 20 employees. Those employees are supervised by 4 individuals with rank for 4 different shifts. Each supervisor has another ranked, lesser person to assist them, so basically each shift has a primary and secondary supervisor. They all report to one individual who ranks beneath me, and I oversee all of them. I report to the individual in charge of the whole institution, and that person reports to an elected official who manages the entire department. The tricky part is the department has 2 divisions, and while this elected official oversees all of it, they really only run the other division. We have an employee who is very intelligent, however his book smart is vast, and his actual experience in this line of work is minimal. He is a ranked assistant on one shift, so he works with the supervisor of one shift. He sends weekly emails complaining about all the other shifts and their mess-ups. He will write down everything from someone forgetting to remove trash, to someone making an error on a form, or even someone interpreting a directive differently than him. He makes it clear that his way is the correct way, and anyone not doing things his way should be written up. He shouts accountability constantly, or sends condescending emails after a directive is put in place, usually because someone messed up, and advises me to, "You need to speak directly with the individual that caused this change, otherwise they won't have a clue it's because of them." Basically telling me and the head administrator how we should be doing our jobs. He targets employees and complains about them, demanding demotion and accountability, and badmouths us for doing nothing about poor performance. Meanwhile, I have submitted multiple demotion requests and write-ups to HR for accountability, but the union steps in and dismisses many of them. This individual does not know or see any of this because personnel issues are not open discussions, and it really isn't his business what discipline is put in place, but it's being done. He just does not see it or hear about it to protect the privacy of that employee. Recently, he has started attacking a shift supervisor on the opposite shift. Anytime something is off, he sends an email with her opus accusations to that supervisor, all of which turn out to not even be true or from that shift to begin with. He ranted about how he never sees the administrators, and in order to run a good facility, administrators need to be visible and involved on every shift, even citing it's not that hard to come in late and stay late to speak to your employees, basically telling us how we should be doing our jobs. He wants monthly supervisor meetings instead of quarterly, because this will eliminate misunderstandings of directives that the other shifts are doing wrong. Little does he know we had monthly meetings for a long time, and no one was able to make them, and nothing came of the meetings, so they requested quarterly meetings. I agree that visibility is important, and I stop in twice a month with night shift to check in and see day shift every day, but he never gets up to come speak to me during my rounds. He sits and reads or plays on his phone, which is allowed due to the nature of the job. He commented, "I can't recall the last time I saw any of you," demanding that admins come in more to micromanage better. I was in a week prior, so that kinda upset me, as he won't acknowledge me. So I started coming in more, and told him, "Why are you sitting? You should be managing. There are things to be cleaned and sorted. You can count inventory of supplies. We don't pay you to sit around." This upset him because we do pay them to sit around until needed, if they have an intake. I then asked him why he was sitting in a restricted area. He stated it was quiet in there, and common sense shows he's not violating the rule because he didn't go past a specific point, so he can sit there. It's a corridor leading to another part of the building not owned by us. I read him the directive, which states, "At no point should anyone for any reason go beyond this door unless in an emergency evacuation situation." I asked him again what was so difficult to understand about this request. He still found nothing wrong with going past the door to sit on the other side. I told him he has demanded accountability, so he would be getting a write-up for not following the directive. He flipped out, saying it was such a minor thing, and reminded him of all the little minor things he complains about with the other shifts. I continued to come in and micromanage everyone. A few employees asked why I was there all the time because we hired supervisors to manage the shift, so did we not think they were capable of doing the job? I advised that some people felt that they couldn't manage the shift and wanted administrators to come in more. The complaining individual got several more write-ups, one major one for an almost fireable offense, showing that maybe, in fact, he didn't have all the answers. He sent an email to my supervisor complaining that I was micromanaging and being extremely anal with the minor write-up infractions that he now says aren't that big to even be reprimanded for. My supervisor asked, "But this is what you wanted, is it not? You complained that you wanted us to be seen and manage more and hold people accountable when they mess up." The complaining individual wanted other people written up, but not himself, because he was never wrong, or that's what he implied. I went back to my regular twice-a-month check-in, which is just stopping in to see how things are going on the shift. The complainer has been quiet for now, sitting inside the allowable room reading. His superiority complex will be his downfall. I remind him that the newest employees are the ones we can learn the most from, and he needs to value knowledge he can get from anyone, regardless of their experience or rank status. I'm an administrator, and I tell staff I am always learning and will continue to learn from everyone. Enjoying the stories yet? If you do, please subscribe, like, and comment. I swear, some people think the world revolves around them. Let me tell you about this crazy day I had at the hair salon last week. It was payday, and like always, I headed to get my hair done after work. I'm 22, and I work at the local amusement park. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills, and I always treat myself to a new hairstyle or beauty routine on payday. So there I was, waiting my turn at the salon. It was packed, which wasn't unusual for a Friday evening. I'd been there about 30 minutes when this woman walked in. The moment she stepped through the door, you could feel the tension in the air. She had this look on her face like she'd just eaten a lemon, all puckered up and sour. She marched up to the reception desk, completely ignoring the line of people waiting. "Woman, I need my hair done right now. Who's available?" Receptionist. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but we're fully booked at the moment. You're welcome to wait, or we can schedule you for another day." "Woman, do you know who I am? I don't have time to wait. I demand to be seen immediately." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Who did this lady think she was? The Queen of England? Receptionist. "I understand you're in a hurry, but I'm afraid all our stylists are with clients. It wouldn't be fair to the other customers who've been waiting." The woman let out this dramatic huff and plopped down in one of the waiting chairs, glaring at everyone around her. I tried to ignore her, scrolling through my phone to pass the time. Finally, it was my turn. I sat down in the chair ready to get my hair done. I was thinking about trying something new, maybe some braids or a sleek updo. But I'd barely been in the chair for 5 minutes when I heard that woman start up again. "Woman, how much longer is this going to take? I've been waiting forever." Hairdresser. "Ma'am, please be patient. Everyone will be seen in the order they arrived." "Woman, but look at her hair. It's going to take hours to make that look decent." "My hair is much easier to work with. You should do me first." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Did she really just say that? Me? "Excuse me, but that's really rude. You can't just say things like that about people." "Woman, oh please. I'm just stating facts. Your kind of hair is notoriously difficult to manage. I'm an important person. I have places to be. I can't waste my whole day waiting for you to get your rat's nest under control." My jaw dropped. I was so shocked I couldn't even respond at first. But before I could gather my thoughts, this woman got up from her chair and stomped over to me. And then, I kid you not, she grabbed my hair and started pulling it. "Woman, see? Look how gross and tangled it is. You should just give up and let me go first." "Me? Ow, let go of me. What is wrong with you?" Hairdresser. "Ma'am, you need to stop right now. This is completely unacceptable behavior." The hairdresser tried to intervene, but this woman was like a tornado of entitlement and racism. She started swinging her arms around, nearly hitting the hairdresser in the face. "Woman, don't you dare touch me. I'm a paying customer, and I demand respect." "Me? Respect? You're the one assaulting people and spewing racist garbage." By this point, everyone in the salon was staring. Some people had their phones out, probably recording the whole thing. I was shaking with anger and embarrassment. Who does this in public? Who does this at all? Receptionist. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. We don't tolerate this kind of behavior in our salon." "Woman, you can't kick me out. I'll sue this whole place. I'll have your jobs." She was screaming at the top of her lungs now, face red as a tomato. For a moment, I thought she might actually try to hit someone. But then, as quickly as it started, she seemed to deflate. Maybe she finally realized how crazy she looked, or maybe she just ran out of steam. "Woman, fine. I don't need this dump anyway. I'll go somewhere that knows how to treat important customers." And just like that, she stormed off to another section of the salon where a different hairdresser was working. I was still in shock, my scalp stinging from where she'd pulled my hair. Hairdresser. "I am so sorry about that. Are you okay? Do you need anything?" Me. I think I'm all right. Just shaken up." Receptionist. "We've called the police. That woman assaulted you, and we're not letting her get away with it." I nodded, still trying to process what had just happened. The hairdresser started working on my hair again, her hands gentle as she tried to soothe my frazzled nerves along with my frazzled hair. As I sat there, letting the familiar routine of hair care calm me down, I couldn't help but glance over at the woman. She was sitting in another chair now, acting like nothing had happened. like she hadn't just attacked a stranger and spouted racist nonsense in public. The audacity of it all made my blood boil. And then, I had an idea. It wasn't smart, and it definitely wasn't legal. But in that moment, all I could think about was payback. I waited until my hairdresser stepped away to mix some dye. Then I casually got up and walked over to where the woman was sitting. Her hairdresser had just finished washing her hair and was about to start drying it. I pretended to be looking at the products on a nearby shelf, then quickly reached over and cranked the heat setting on the dryer to maximum. I hurried back to my chair, heart pounding. A few minutes later, I heard a commotion from the other side of the salon. Woman, ow, ow, what are you doing? It's too hot. Hairdresser, I'm so sorry, I don't know what happened. The dryer must be malfunctioning. I looked over and saw smoke rising from the woman's head. Her hair was a frizzy, tangled mess, and parts of it looked singed. I couldn't help but feel a little satisfied, even though I knew it was wrong. Woman, look what you've done to my hair. I'll sue you for this. I want to speak to the manager right now. As she continued to rant and rave, I quietly asked my hairdresser to finish up quickly. I paid and left before the police arrived, not wanting to get caught up in any more drama. Walking home, I felt a mix of emotions. Part of me was still angry and hurt by what that woman had said and done. Another part felt guilty for retaliating. And a small petty part of me was gleeful about the image of her smoke and frizz. I knew I'd probably get in trouble if anyone found out what I'd done. But in that moment, watching her throw another tantrum over her ruined hair, I couldn't bring myself to regret it. Sometimes karma needs a little help, you know. The whole experience left me shaken. It's not the first time I've dealt with racism, but it never gets easier. I just hope that woman learned something from all this, though I doubt it. As for me, I think I'll be finding a new hair salon, one with better security and hopefully fewer entitled customers. It was a quiet day in the neighborhood, and I decided to take a stroll around the block to clear my head. As I walked, I noticed a commotion a few houses down. As I got closer, I realized it was my neighbor Karen yelling at the mailman. Now Karen is no ordinary neighbor. She's the epitome of entitled parents, and she always finds something to complain about. I tried to avoid her as much as possible, but this time, I couldn't help but get involved. "Excuse me, Karen, what's going on here?" I asked, trying to defuse the situation. "This incompetent mailman can't seem to deliver my package on time," she said, her face turning red with anger. "I ordered it 2 days ago, and it still hasn't arrived. Maybe there was a delay or something," I said, trying to reason with her. "I don't care about your excuses," she snapped. "I want my package, and I want it now." At this point, I knew there was no reasoning with her. Karen was always like this, demanding things and treating people like they were beneath her. I decided to step in and help the mailman, who looked visibly shaken by Karen's outburst. "Ma'am, I'm sorry for the inconvenience," the mailman said, his voice trembling. "I'll try my best to deliver your package as soon as possible." "You better do," Karen said, glaring at him. I could see that the mailman was in a difficult position, and I didn't want to leave him alone with Karen. So I decided to accompany him to his next stop and help him out with his deliveries. As we walked, I learned more about the mailman, whose name was Mike. He was a kind man who had been working for the post office for over 20 years. Mike told me that he had been dealing with entitled parents like Karen for years, and it never got any easier. He said that he had to deal with angry customers almost every day, and it was starting to take a toll on him. I listened to Mike's story and felt sorry for him. I knew how it felt to deal with entitled parents, and it was never a pleasant experience. As we approached Karen's house, I braced myself for another confrontation. Sure enough, Karen was waiting outside her house, tapping her foot impatiently. When she saw us, she rushed over and demanded her package. "Where is it?" "I've been waiting all day," she said, her voice rising. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but we haven't received it yet," Mike said, trying to calm her down. "That's not good enough," Karen said, her face turning red with anger. "I want my package, and I want it now." I could see that Mike was starting to lose his patience, and I decided to step in before things got out of hand. "Karen, can I talk to you for a second?" I said, grabbing her by the arm. "What do you want?" she said, shaking me off. "I just want to talk to you for a second," I said, trying to keep my cool. "I think you're being a bit unreasonable." "Unreasonable? I ordered something and I want it delivered," she said, her voice rising. "I understand that, but you don't have to yell at the mailman," I said, trying to reason with her. "He's just doing his job." Karen scoffed at me and rolled her eyes. "I don't have time for your lectures," she said, turning to Mike. "Where's my package?" At this point, I knew there was no reasoning with Karen. Karen's behavior was getting out of hand, and I could see that she was starting to get violent. She started grabbing at my arm, trying to pull me away from Mike. I could feel my blood boiling, and I knew that I had to do something to protect myself. "Karen, let go of me," I said, trying to shake her off. "No, you're not going anywhere until I get my package," she said, tightening her grip. That was it. I had had enough of her entitlement and her aggressive behavior. I quickly pulled my arm away from her grip and pushed her back. Karen stumbled backward, her eyes wide with shock. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" she said, her face contorted with anger. "I think you need to calm down and stop acting like a child," I said, my voice rising. Karen was fuming now, and I could see that she was about to lunge at me. But before she could make a move, I punched her in the face. It was a split-second decision, but it was the only thing I could do to protect myself. Karen stumbled backward, her hands clutching her face in pain. I could see the shock and disbelief on her face as she tried to make sense of what had just happened. You hit me," she said, her voice trembling. "I had to," I said, my voice calm but firm. "You were getting violent, and I had to protect myself." Karen didn't say anything else. She just stood there, her face red with anger, and her eyes filled with tears. I could tell that she was humiliated and embarrassed, and part of me felt sorry for her. But another part of me was proud of myself for standing up to her and not letting her get away with her entitled behavior. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more captivating stories. Share your own experiences and opinions in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay tuned for more epic tales.